In the early 1900s, an industry was created which changed society forever. Before the smartphones, before the ring lights, before the Instagram likes, we had Hollywood. A lot of people believe that the comparisons we make in society, the unrealistic beauty standards, is all because of social media. But before social media, we did have Hollywood, and that influenced a lot of the beliefs we have in society today. In this video, this isn't a video to discuss why Hollywood is a bad thing. This is just a look at what influenced us from an early age and why we have some of the standards we have currently now in society. When I was 15 years old in school, one of my favorite subjects to study was called media studies. It was actually called media theory, because what we would look at is we would look at things like the film industry, the television industry, advertisements in general, and music videos, and we used to basically study why these things are able to work. Before smartphones were a thing, we always used to watch TV shows and movies. We'd typically go to the cinema, and basically a lot of the culture we would see in these films would influence us. When I was growing up, one of my favorite films was Casino by Martin Scorsese. What I sort of liked about this film is the glamorous life that it was portraying. I remember it was based in Las Vegas in America, and basically it was centered around casinos and sort of the mob life and how they influenced a lot of that culture today. And I remember watching that film, sort of seeing the outfits they were wearing, the money they were spending, the private planes, the cars, the houses, you know, in the casino rooms, at the poker table. And there's something attractive about looking at a film like that. You know, you look at that and you see yourself, and you know, this is the sort of thing that I thought was the good life. See, I was influenced by rap a lot, but rap was influenced by a lot of these sort of films which basically portray this sort of lifestyle. It's an excessive lifestyle where basically money is spent and there's no care in the world. Now, what I mentioned earlier is the film industry pretty much influenced who we are today, right? Similar to me watching that film Casino, you probably have a film yourself or a TV show that you used to watch, and you basically wanted to replicate the lifestyle that you saw in that film. And way before the smartphones, ring lights, and everything like that, basically, we was exposed to this kind of lifestyle. And it made us sort of set the standards of what we believed was the good life. You know, these days, through the internet, we have a wide range of opinions of what people think is the good life. Some people want to live a minimalist life where they go into nature and camp. Some of us more want the excessive life, the Bugattis, as you've probably heard, fast cars, big houses, the money being spent, wearing what we want to wear, designer clothes, etc. And way before we knew back then, but these things that we were watching was basically influencing us. The shows we were watching, the movies we were watching, the music we was listening to is a big part of our culture, and our culture has more influence on our perspective than we realize. I want you guys to leave a comment on what your favorite TV show or movie was. I'm genuinely curious on what was the sort of things you used to watch which made you think, yeah, that's the life that I want to replicate. Now, these unrealistic standards that we used to see on TV used to have a wide range of influences on us, as I mentioned earlier, but there was good and bad impacts to them. A lot of those I'm going to be talking about in this video. See, before social media and influences, Hollywood was able to set the stage on what we believed was the absolute good life, the life that we needed to replicate in order to look like we were superstars. I want you guys to take a look at some of those shows that you've probably wrote down or you're thinking about, and what were some of the beauty standards they had for men and women? What was your idea of a good-looking person, a bad-looking person, a person who was worth pursuing? What were some of the traits they had? Both characteristics and physical looks. See, in the self-improvement industry now, in the men's particular space, we're sort of being advertised on things like looks maxing. Way back in the day, argue amongst yourselves, it was mainly women that only ever focused on beauty. But lately in the men community, we're seeing things like looks maxing, skincare routines, you know, making sure you're the best looking version of yourself. And to an extent, I believe that that's totally fine. But what it fails to understand is it fails to understand that we are all different in some shape or form. And a lot of these standards that we've been exposed to and that we're now trying to replicate come back from some of the things that we used to watch. These things shaped why we believe this is a beauty standard. But then again, when I was in my 20s, I wasted a lot of time trying to compete with people who I could never replicate, trying to create a lifestyle for myself which I couldn't replicate. And I wonder if you guys can relate to some of the stories that I speak about. So in the next act, I'm going to be telling you guys about some of the influences that we had back in the day and how they also followed us up and got even more enhanced when social media was introduced. So when I first moved to London City, I remember, I don't know if it was in my first year or second year of university. This was around 2013. Instagram was sort of a new thing back then. Smartphones were a thing. I still had a BlackBerry actually in my first year of uni. My friends always used to make a joke about that. But when I moved into university, I became a club promoter. It was in an area called Mayfair in London, which is basically a prestigious luxury area. It's basically fancy restaurants. Some of them you know, I ain't gonna name drop them. And different sort of clubs where basically the clientele is very simple. The men are table spenders, people with money. And the women are beautiful women who come out dressed beautifully. And if you can get both of these in an area, the club's going to be very profitable. And when I became a club promoter, this was the first time that I was sort of introduced to influencers. Here's a picture of me right here back when I was about 18 to 19 years old. Now, at the time when I was a club promoter, my job was very simple. As I mentioned, I needed to get table spenders and beautiful women into the club. And when I sort of got exposed to these influencers and this lifestyle, I remember falling in love with it the very first time that I went in there. I didn't know it at the time, but it's because of certain beliefs that I had of what was the good life from back in the day. Movies like Casino, I was basically now living a life that replicated that. And if you think of Hollywood, when we see things like red carpet events, these big prestigious award shows where people step out in suits and there's paparazzi outside taking pictures of them. When social media got introduced and I was a club promoter, we changed paparazzi for our smartphones. We were the photographers. Expensive lighting basically got replaced for little ring lights that we could attach to our phones and take pictures. And for the first time in history, we as the consumers were basically introduced to a world where we could be the superstars. See, Instagram was like a platform, like a television is a platform, or the cinema is a platform. You could basically show the highlights of your life the way in which a film shows the highlights of the story it's portraying. And I want you guys to think of yourselves, what's the influence social media's had on you? See, when I started going to these clubs as a promoter and I would Snapchat what was going on, I remember there was always a particular song that everybody liked. Future was big then, Drake was big then, Drake's always been big. Young Thug, I remember Rich Gang Lifestyle. Now, I don't necessarily believe it's always negative for you to sort of see a particular lifestyle and want to replicate that for yourself. But there is a few mental blocks that does for you. See, that lifestyle that we saw in Hollywood and we also saw on social media, although it was inspiring and made us want to live better lives and maybe made us more ambition, there was a cost to that ambition. And that's what I'm going to be speaking about in the next act of this. Now, I'm not going to be name dropping any brands in this video, but I want you guys to tell me what your favorite brand is in the comments as well. What's a brand that you really like enjoying? Myself, I'm a big fan of Versace. The flamboyancy of it, it's sort of flary, it's kind of in your face. And when you're wearing it on a night out, it's very easy to distinguish the person who's wearing Versace. Now, I say that to say, when I got into my 20s, living this club promoter life, drinking alcohol all the time, what ended up happening is I realized now that I was putting on a performance. Of course, it wasn't something conscious in my mind at the time, but every single thing that I was doing in my life was to basically keep up with the appearance that I'd created on social media. The clothes I was buying, even if I was short of money, I'd be buying nice clothes simply so that when I step out, I'm giving off this reflection of I'm doing better than what I'm currently doing. How many of you guys are doing something similar? I want you to go onto your social media. What's the main thing that you're portraying to the world? See, I'm not one of those people that believe social media is bad. Social media can be used for good. It can actually be a very strategic platform you use to advertise yourself and create a brand. It can be something that enhances your dating life. It can be something that helps you with business. There's so many different opportunities it's opened. But mentally, I want you to think of the identities we've created when we started using social media. See, before when we was watching the Hollywood actors, the people on TV, the people that we looked up to, these people were pretty much very far away from our reality. We couldn't touch them, we couldn't live like them, and we pretty much had a realistic perception of what our lives actually looked like. We weren't able to compare ourselves to other people. But once social media got introduced, we sort of started creating this performance. The same performance we would see on the screen, we could replicate ourselves because, like I said, we are now the directors, we are now the producers, we are now the actors within our own movies. One of the things that I see that's very popular now in society is this whole vlogging culture. Now that we've got influencers and pretty much everyone from their mum, their dad, their nan, their dog can be an influencer on social media, everybody is now vlogging their life. We've got travel vlogs, we've got day in the life, we've got gym vlogs of what to do and work out. And I think this is good for the opportunity it's created. Like I said, we get to be the main character in our own lives. By the end of the day, it's also enhancing that initial feeling we had of trying to replicate the life that we saw when we was growing up. Because rather than looking at the TV screen and comparing ourselves to the people on the screen, which we never could replicate, we've now got smartphones, and in some shape or form, we can learn to manipulate the way in which we look online. Now, I want you guys to stop for a minute. What are some of the mental things that social media has done for you? I don't know about you guys, but for whatever reason, I always feel like I'm behind. As I'm making this video, something like making a video like this, creative, different from the crowd, I'd be so proud of something I produced because probably nobody around me was making something on this level. But because of social media, what I find myself doing is comparisons. I'm looking at bigger channels, getting bigger views than me, people who are in better shape than me, people who have better clothes than me. And there's this comparison culture now. It's hard to avoid. It's so deeply engraved in us that we see it all the time. What about you guys? What are some of the things you thought you would have at this moment in time? Where did you believe you'd be living? What sort of car did you believe you'd be driving? What is your dream place to stay at, and what's your dream car to drive? What are some of the character traits you wish you had, which you currently don't have? See, a lot of that was engraved in us way back in the day, but it was enhanced by social media. Social media is the new Hollywood, which is the subject of this video. But when you're seeing normal people live a life way better than yours, it's very, very difficult for you to look at your life and be satisfied with where you're at. And this is the negative side of what we've done. We saw it earlier on in our lives, but we're seeing it now today with social media. And it's shaped a lot of our identity up until this day. We've forgotten all those unique traits we had when we was younger that made us unique. Some of the unique outlooks, some of the creative thoughts we had. And now what we use social media for is similar to the TV screen. We use it to tell us what's the cool, trendy thing that we should be doing. So what that means is your personality, my personality, and everyone else's personality, to an extent, isn't theirs. It's just the personality that was written for them by the comparisons that they're making. And if you're always chasing an image which you cannot live up to and performing to somebody you're not, you'll never truly be happy. Now, awareness is useful because awareness makes you aware of what you're doing, which doesn't quite fit in with who you are as a person. But awareness isn't the only solution. So if we've now acknowledged that a lot of our identity was built through these influences, these beliefs, the things that we used to see, the things that I studied in media, such as the culture, the lifestyle, and the impact it had on us. What's the next step? What do we do? We're already here. What we've got to do is what I'm going to be speaking about in the next act, which is we've got to learn to become ourselves. And there's a very strategic process you can go through to start actually being your authentic self. I say this in every single one of my videos, but we need to break this myth that we are self-made. It's almost like a narcissistic way of thinking, right? We believe that everything we have today is of our own doing. There's no circumstances, there's no influences that are basically shaping us unconsciously. That's not the truth. See, when you don't build your identity intentionally, and you'll know if you've built your identity intentionally, your identity is built for you. Someone is already writing your story. The question is who? Who's got you waking up right now, every single morning, and doing what you're doing? The job, driving the car you are, getting in a relationship with the person you're going into. Is that genuinely you? Are these decisions of your own making? But if you learn to be honest with yourself, you'll see there's a lot of character traits you have which were influenced by other people. I used to believe that when we're born, our DNA makeup, we are either born as an introvert or an extrovert. Something as simple as that. Some people have the gift of the gab, a talent where they just naturally are outgoing. But we've never taken a magnifying glass and looked at their lifestyle ever since they were young. What are some of the factors that influence them to being an outgoing person? Some of us might have had hard struggles growing up, and that's why we're introverted. which means we're not actually an introvert by birth, we're just an introvert based off of the circumstances. I believe we're living in a digital era, which is sort of like a gold mine. I remember the roaring 20s, 1920s. One of my other favorite shows was Boardwalk Empire, which was also, ironically, Martin Scorsese. Now, Boardwalk Empire mimicked the lifestyle that I saw in Casino, but it was in the 1920s. Glitz and glam, everything was one big party, gangsters, these hyper-masculine guys who carry themselves tough, they're making money, they're influential, they're like celebrities in their local community, the women, the cars, whatever it was. And I believe the digital era is similar to that Art Deco era in the 1920s. The digital era is like a gold rush. The times are good, everyone's making money, or at least that's what we're seeing when we go on social media. But it's not a true reflection of reality. And the thing is, aspiring for a good life is not a negative thing. But when you get caught up in a facade which you're not actually living, that can be a big problem. What you've got to learn to do is you've got to learn to build your identity intentionally. Now me, when I look at some of the character traits that I want to embody, I still go back to those TV shows and films that I saw in Hollywood. I look at some of the actors that I saw, Nucky Thompson in Boardwalk Empire, Robert De Niro's character, Sam Rothstein in Casino, how strategic he was, calculated. And I believe you can build these character traits into your own self, no matter where you came from or where you started. And I guess you got the question, well, how do you begin to build those character traits? It's very, very simple. So up until this point, you are just a combination of the influences that you're seeing on TV, your friends, your family members, the place you grew up, the beliefs around there, the culture that you grew up in around. But what if you could influence that set of beliefs that you've currently got? What if rather than listening to the opinions of other people, you could be very selective with which opinions you listen to? See, one of the good things I like about motivational videos is a lot of people watch them and they just get a hit of dopamine and then they don't do anything with their life. But what I think motivational videos are actually built for is they're built to basically put you in a state of mind. That state of mind basically makes you believe that you can achieve anything. You can conquer anything. You can pretty much have the world. And only when you're in that state of mind do you actually begin to take action. See, if you're in a miserable mood and you don't believe that you're going to have anything good happen to you in life, you're never really going to take action, are you? So for me, one of the things that I do is I'm always studying the biographies of different inspirational people in the world. I look at their upbringing and I ask myself what influenced who they are. Because what you begin to see is that these people didn't start off like that. They became who they are. And if someone can become somebody, that means good news for you and me. We can become somebody in this world. So rather than focusing on what they're wearing, the cars they're driving, I want you to look at the character traits they built through the trials and tribulations that they went through. See, when you look at a Hollywood film, if we watch a film where from the very start of the film, they're living a glamorous life and there's no ups and downs, there's no controversial things that happen to them, their character isn't developed throughout the course of the film, that isn't really a film we want to tap into. When we watch films, we want to see a story, we want to see adversity. This is why when you grow up around someone who was from a rich area, you always look at them as they were just fed on a silver spoon. It's not really a positive thing in society. Everyone wants to feel like they earn the position that they're in. So rather than looking at your life as just some circumstances that fell upon you, look at it as an opportunity to build the life that you want to live. Similar to a Hollywood director, when they're writing the script for the film, and they're basically plotting what's going to be in this film, what's going to capture the audience. Think of you as the producer of your film. What are the things that you're going to put into your movie? The storylines. What sort of shape do you want to be? If you're the main character of your film, how do you want to look physically? Someone like me, I focus on things like communication. See, a lot of people ask me how I come up with these topics. One side of it is naturally because I got a background in sales and communication. I've been doing that for 11 years, so it naturally came with it. But also, it's something that I understand. For me to become the person I want to be, communication is important. So I really look at it as no choice. You better learn to look at a camera and tell a story that's congruent from start to finish. And when you start setting these standards for yourself, you're going to start living up to those standards. And that's how you begin to move your life forward and create that movie lifestyle. See, when you do that, you're no longer faking the life. You're actually living it on a day-to-day basis. So next time you're on a night out, or you're out with your friends on holiday and you pull out your phone and you're filming the highlights of your life and you're living. Enjoy it. Genuinely enjoy it. Make sure you take time to capture these moments because, our smartphones are basically going to be memories that we look at when we're older. But when you're doing that, I don't want you to get caught up in a facade that you're not actually living. Don't focus on portraying a good lifestyle to people. Make sure that you remember to actually build a good life that you want to live. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more mini documentary series like these. Tell me what you liked about this video, and I'll see you in the next one.